Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Texas Watch for the week of Wednesday, September 16th, 2020. I'm your host, Projekt, and joining me, as always, is the Tracer main with the biggest brain, Zay XO.
What's up, y'all? We're back to talk some Overwatch, the game we all know and love at this point. I would say we have some talk about the Texas teams, but we're talking about the straight playoffs and other things today because our teams are at home. But a lot of other teams who are doing better right now are not at home. So
Nope. And we'll get to that in a second because this is Texas Watch. You can catch the show on podcast services around the globe, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Sorry, Stitcher fans. I've been making this joke for a while now. We are not on Stitcher.
Lie! You lied! Why did you lie to the people, Project?
I just upload it to Anchor FM, and it says uploading on podcast services everywhere, so I just assumed it was literally every podcast service. Maybe Stitcher pulls from, like, Apple Podcasts or something, which I noticed a lot of podcast services do. So maybe you can get us on Stitcher, but we're not going straight there, so I don't know. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like button. Go ahead and maybe click that subscribe button if you like what you see and you want to see more. Also, if you click that notification bell, we'd really appreciate it. That way you know whenever we upload a new video. But with that being said, we need to talk about some Overwatch.
Yes.
So, over the weekend, we had playoffs round 3. And what was really important about this round is this was the last one. This was the weekend where we found out who was going to the grand finals and who was going to get cut. Let me pull up the bracket real quick.
Yeah, it was some interesting matchups too, man. But to be 100% honest, they were a little anticlimactic, right? I think if my memory serves me correctly, they all were done in 4 maps. I think the majority of them were 3-1s or 3-0s. I want to say, at least in the NA region.
We had Valiant Mayhem was a 2-3. Shock Justice was a 2-3. Paris Atlanta was a 2-3.
Oh, okay, the round after that is what I'm thinking.
Everything else after that was a quick. Well, no, Shock Philly went 3-1. Let's just go over game by game, right? Philly Gladiators, quick 3-0. That's kind of what I was anticipating for this team. I like the Glads a lot, but this is the number 1 seed Philly Fusion we're talking about here. What do you expect? Florida Valiant, 2-3. I'm happy that Valiant won.
Surprise for me. I thought Florida had that. I thought Florida was alive. I think they underachieved this year, to be honest. And it's hard to say that about the Florida Mayhem because originally they're one of the worst teams in Overwatch history, right? So it's hard to say they underachieved. But I think with this roster, they should have performed a lot better. The Valiant are good too. I mean, Jesus, how great have the Valiant been all year compared to what we thought of them day 1 of this season make it round 3? You know, y'all were the first victims to the Dallas Fuel. So
at that homestand, we're like, what? They just bought all these rookies. They spent no money on their team. No one except for McGravy. Well, McGravy and maybe KSP were known, and then they just kind of stomped us. And we were like, what the fuck is this? You guys were supposed to be bad.
And they rode that fucking wave all the way to damn near the grand finals. They were two series wins away from making it. So I thought the Mayhem are still a good team. A team with Yaki BQB. They're low key one of my favorite duos in the league. I love Yaki's Tracer. He's one of the most patient Tracers in the league. I love watching different styles of Tracer play. It's so great in my opinion. Just Tracer people. Also, get the new Tracer skin. It is out this week.
I mean, we'll get there. Skin. We'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I'm talking about skins at another point. We'll get to that point. Ignore I just said that. We'll come back to it. But so sorry. Do we need to stop you there and keep going? But
no,
I was surprised.
Cool.
I would have picked the Mayhem in this matchup over the Valiant, but the Valiant did win in map 5.
And it was a 2-3, so that they wanted it. I'll give it to them there. Then we go to the losers bracket. We had why was the Shock Justice? Did Philly beat the Shock earlier? Did I miss something?
What do you mean? So the Shock played the Justice beat the Fuel.
Losers bracket. My bad. That's just the other two teams that were playing. Okay, cool. So we had the Shock beating the Justice 3-2. I mean, I wanted the Justice to go far, but I mean, hey, it had to end somewhere.
Did you see how that game turned out?
What do you mean?
It was a reverse sweep.
Oh yeah,
The
I was watching
Justice
that
were
game.
up 2-0, and then the Shock come back and reverse sweep them. That was a heartbreaker for the Justice. But it's fair because they were breaking the hearts of teams,
Yeah,
throughout the whole tournament.
dude. Oh my god.
Just to give you an idea, the Justice 3-0'd Vancouver, 3-0'd the Fuel, and almost 3-0'd the Shock until the Shock figured it out, and then they didn't drop a map after that. So the Justice almost had it this close.
And then Paris
No
Atlanta.
cigar.
Did you care about the Paris Atlanta game? I mean,
I knew neither one of these teams were going to go after past the next round. Whoever won was going to get eliminated by the Shock. So I didn't really care about that matchup, to be honest. Being 100% real about it, I'm a huge fan of the league, but I didn't think any one of those teams had a shot at winning the title.
You know what? Let me just stay in the winners bracket, and then we'll talk about the losers bracket, because there's a commentary that I want to talk about in the losers bracket. So round 2 or technically round 2 in round 3, whatever, they didn't name it right. We had the Fusion Valiant, Fusion 3-0 the Valiant. It kinda was a hard game to watch because of how far the Valiant got this year, but again, Philly's number 1 seed for a reason.
Yep.
There was the burps. And then we had Shock Rain 3-1. Again, what did you expect? This is the number 1 and the number 2 seed. However, getting to that next game where it was Philly Shock, I was actually surprised. I think that here's my conspiracy, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So remember at the end of the season where Philly Shock played and Philly 3-0'd the Shock? I think they threw that game.
The Shock threw that game, you think?
I think they were like, now let's give the Fusion some confidence, make them think they can beat us. And then playoff time comes around, and then the Shock are like, nah, we turn the switch on. We go, and you lose. So, like, that game, it was a close game. 3-1 doesn't make it seem like the Shock dominated. Because it was a close game, but in the end, the Shock were consistently a stronger team. And it was
I would agree.
Oh, God. And I look forward to these two maybe meeting in the grand finals. We'll get to that. But then...
I have a hot take on that one.
Go ahead.
On this game. I think, even though he's one of my favorite players, Carpe was the hindrance to the Fusion in this matchup.
He only played at the second half of the game, right?
Yes, but when Carpe's in, you know what he's gonna play. Ashe or Widow. Maybe Tracer, but she was not really meta. She's only meta in certain comps. So, if Hisu's in, you got Sombra, you got Ashe. He can also play Widow too. He can play the Tracer. He can play these other DPS heroes, in my opinion. Mainly the Sombra, because the Sombra's really meta right now. And I think it held the Fusion back a little bit. And trust me, I'm a Carpe fan. I actually voted for him for MVP this year.
He was, over the chatter that I've seen on Twitter and various social media, he was, like, contended for second place. It was just Fledo was so far ahead.
Oh, yeah. And Fled is there. Fled has been...
Yeah, Fled is MVP. We'll talk about him in a second.
Yeah, if you watched this show and didn't know by now, first of all, how'd you find this show if you don't watch Overwatch League? Because we're like buried in the somewhere.
I mean, I pimp out the show to people sometimes. Like I'll be, it's a bit of a flex. I'm like, hey, I got a podcast. You should check us out. I know they won't, but I still tell them anyway.
But isn't it nice though? It's like, yeah, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm recording my show.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't mind us YouTube viewers or podcast listeners. Thank you for listening.
For real,
like, you do listen.
I don't want to say like I think bad about any viewer. I am just so shameless about plugging the show. Like I will meet a random person at a bar, right? I'll be talking to them, like, oh, by the way, I have a podcast on YouTube. You should check us out. Like, no reason to tell them, just why not?
Especially where we live, right? This is like, I don't want to say hipster town, but like everyone
has a podcast here.
Yeah, I have a podcast, or you own some random, like I have a little flower small business or some crazy thing. Like this is the town to do it, right? It's little mini California, whatever you want to say.
Oh God, don't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, trust me, I shouldn't say that. If you have any California listeners, you're good people, but stop coming to Austin. Anyway. Back to the Shock and Fusion. I think that Carpe was a hindrance because when Carpe was in the game, I think it was very apparent what they were going to run, and the Shock used that because every Shock DPS can play almost anything. For example, like Striker played a lot of Reaper on the Shock. Carpe never
Yeah.
switched to Reaper, not once. Even
Hasn't
though
he
Reaper's
played
a hit scan.
Reaper throughout the season a couple of times? He has played Reaper, right?
He has, exactly, but I feel like I don't know is it not a comfort pick? Is that a pick that Ivy should do? Ivy's the second DPS on the Fusion.
I mean, yes.
Should he go Reaper? But Reaper's a hit scan. That's kind of Carpe's wheelhouse. Tracer, Reaper, it's all kind of the same thing. And Ivy should run the Mei or the Genji or something like that, or a Pharah. So I think when he switched in, I think it changed the dynamic of the game, and I think the Shock started to roll them a little bit more after Carpe came in. Not due to the fault of Carpe, just the fact that the knowledge of knowing the comps they were going to run helped the Shock. Both these teams are too well coached, and there's too much talent across the board.
Oh my God,
to do those things.
Just like your point, though, they're so excellent at the game. They're so well coached. I don't think you can really understate that. And did you know that they just brought on a new analyst for the Shock?
Another one?
Another one. They just have that much money. They're just fucking throwing it at people, dude.
Okay, think about it. I mean, it's San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Like, hello, there's
you got smart people there.
Yeah, and plus a bunch of tech bros like, oh, this is I make $250K a year. I'll just give to this team. I like Overwatch. Here you go. And they're just like rolling in money over there into the owners of the San Francisco Shock, in my opinion.
Can you blame them? They're the strongest team. Well, technically Philly's the strongest, but they had won last year, and then unlike the Titans, they stayed good.
Right.
So
I forgot who the original backer of the Shock was as far as esport team. Was
NRG.
it NRG?
NRG.
NRG? Okay. Wow, they're doing pretty well right now. They're pretty happy.
They're happy with their Shock. Like, finishing up on what game were we talking about?
Yeah, the Shock and the
Philly
Fusion
Shock,
in the winners finals, and
then we had San Francisco making it to the grand finals first, which turns out actually means something. So we'll get to that when we talk about the grand finals next. And then the losers bracket, we have a lot of drama because if you're watching the podcast on YouTube, you will notice the Justice literally just kept winning until they hit Philly. Like, they won in the beginning, and then they got knocked out by the Shock because, of course, they wanted a relatively easy team, and I feel like the Shock are really the only ones who have the confidence enough to go against Decay. So, good on them.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's it.
So, top row, we have Florida Gladiators. Florida actually wanted to play again, so they 3-0'd them. They 3-0'd the Reign as well, which I think is really interesting because Atlanta was, again, that team that was supposed to be good, but then they only really shone, or rather, they didn't shine enough to really be considered top tier, right? Like, they could perform every once in a while, but for the most part, they were middle of the pack.
And no one took them really seriously. Like, they would show some good performances, and everyone's like, yeah, you're going to lose the next game. You're going to pop off a little bit one time and then come back, and it's like, bleh. So they laid eggs a lot, which is unfortunate because they have some good personalities on that team, but you got to do the W's, man. It doesn't make sense without W's. Need the wins.
You don't need to tell me or you that. Trust me.
No, trust me. We lose a lot. we lose a lot.
We lose a lot. So then there was that. Florida moved on to the Justice, where the Justice, I don't want to say easily, Florida did give them a pretty good fight, but they 3-0'd them. Like, the Justice were the strongest team.
How are they're the third best team in NA. Judging by this bracket, they have to be the third best team in NA.
So they are technically. They are technically because of how they performed in the playoffs. But the crazy thing is, like, all they ran was just the comp that was on ladder. They just put someone with godlike aim and game sense on the Zarya. Remember, Decay's normally a DPS. He doesn't just play Zarya. But because Zarya is just tracing just like Tracer, that skill set transferred a lot, and Washington pumped all their resources into Decay, always keeping him alive, always giving him the nano, like... If you notice, he always got nano. Jianyu occasionally got nano, but it mostly went to Decay.
He's the second coming of Sinatra. The only reason, if you put Decay on the Shock and they run this comp, they win the title. Like,
Easy.
Decay, you could, in my opinion, you could plug in Decay for Sinatra in all of the shock and his greatness, whatever, and you get the same result. Yeah. I think they're on the same level in terms of their Zarya play when it comes to when she's meta. Absolutely.
I think it's a shame that we lost Sinatra to Valorant, but let's be honest, Riot Games has a better esports org than Blizzard does, especially Overwatch, because we are a B-tier esport. It pains me to say that, but
it's just true.
It's just how it is at this point. Overwatch League has not performed like it was supposed to, and luckily they still put on a good show for us. You know, yeah, I appreciate that.
And I go back to, I think I've said this before on the show, is that I don't think Overwatch was originally designed to be an esport. It's kind of like, man, we have a huge player base. People really love this. Let's just go all the way. We're Activision Blizzard. We've got the money. Let's just throw this into a franchise kind of deal and make it an esport. Because, like, I think I said this before, like, spectator mode was like, bleh, at best.
It didn't exist back in the day.
It didn't exist. There was no replay viewer. That came in a year after. I think it was the end of season 1. You could just now watch replays of your games.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like Valorant and other games would come at day 1. Valorant was like, yeah, spectator mode, coach mode, boom, you have that. Like, esport ready, boom, tournaments, you do them right here. Like, everything was ready for an esport. And Overwatch still, I'm getting kind of meta here outside of Overwatch League and just Overwatch in general as a game. Blizzard has a really tough job of trying to balance a game and make an esport out of something where if you're a great FPS player, we need to nerf you. If any CSGO players, let's say for example, I'm assuming they have the greatest aim. If CSGO players come into Overwatch and play Widowmaker, they would dominate. Like, they just headshot everybody. That's all they do. All they do in CSGO. But that's not a fun game. So you have to nerf that and make heroes that are a little more cheap better. But that's not in the spirit of an esport. That's not right. So Blizzard has a tough job, man. I compliment them on even getting this far with it. But it's a tough job to make a game where you can aim well, but you can't aim too well because you're overpowered. So we have to nerf the characters that do that, but not make the characters who are really easy to play too strong. It's a lot. So
with this,
I give them credit for that.
Do you think that this has something to do with the fact that Overwatch has been designed to be a more casual game? Like, anyone can play it. I mean, like, the amount of people that just play Overwatch, and I don't want to say don't talk about it, but that I find that play Overwatch, it's everybody, you know? Like, Call of Duty has, like, an expected kind of player, right? Whereas Overwatch, I'm finding people who are just, like, single moms. Yeah, no, I just like to play Overwatch every once in a while.
Story. I have a story for today. I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm literally at work today. We're all working from home. I'm fortunate enough to be able to work from home, and I'm on Slack. And we have an Overwatch channel that I created. Yes, I'm that big a fan of the game.
Let's go.
So I have an Overwatch Slack channel we created, and someone pings me direct message and just like, hey, I saw you created this channel. Like, do you play Overwatch? It was this, I believe, I don't know her exact age, middle 30-year-old white woman with 3 kids. And she was like, do you play Overwatch? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my God, me and my husband play when we put the kids to bed. Like,
let's go. And I was like, let's go. But that's that shit that I'm talking about. Like, Overwatch is one of those games where they have a really tough job blending keeping it balanced for a casual player base, but also for the competitive player base. And unfortunately, the competitive player base is very loud. Very loud.
And the thing about it is that the part with Blizzard 2 is the competitive player base, they're not the money spenders, dude. It's the kids and the adults like that who are buying it casually. They're the ones that are going to buy it again. The competitive person has already got it and they're done. Your new customers don't really come from there. They come from the casual players.
Look at loot boxes. Overwatch has this thing right now. For the first time, they've dropped the price on loot boxes, and then they introduced this new bundle for $4.99. You get 5 loot boxes and 1 legendary loot box, where you're guaranteed a legendary item that you don't have yet. And, like, I thought about it. I'm not gonna lie. I thought about it, and I'm like, I don't want to give Activision Blizzard any more money, A. And B, I, like, went to the Hero Select screen. I filtered it to legendary skins that I don't own, and I went through it, and I'm like, aside from the event skins,
Nothing.
I don't want any of these. Like, I've already unlocked all the skins that I want.
I have to come full circle here.
Did you do it?
I bought it.
And?
No. Well, I didn't technically. Well, I guess I had Blizzard credit. I had $20 of Blizzard credit.
That's a different story than pulling out your wallet and buying it.
Yeah, I did not use my credit card. No, it was Blizzard credit. I don't know what from. I forgot, maybe something a long time ago, but I don't know.
I wouldn't question it. Yo, I got Blizzard credit in my account. Bet, let's go. I'm gonna buy some shit.
Yeah, and I bought it, and I got the fucking Summer Games Torb skin.
So it's also event skins in those boxes?
I guess so. It was a Summer Games Torb skin because I don't have the one with his little where
he's got nipples,
hammer, and his little air, it's like a little fucking little toy hammer. I didn't have that one. That's the only legendary I got, and I was like, it's a cool skin. I like the hammer sound. It's the favorite part because he's hitting you with a plush toy. It's great. But I don't even play Torb, so. For $5 that I already gave to Blizzard because it's already in my account, so Blizzard already has the money.
They're already paid. They don't care.
Yeah, so I was like, here you go. I just might as well get something out of it. So I think you're
disappointed.
Right. I don't want a Torb skin. I don't play Torb. I'm not that person who's like a Torb hardcore fanatic. And that's going to your point. I had every other legendary skin. The heroes I want skins for, I have. I've got all tracers, like I've got all Widowmakers. I've got all the Genjis, like the DPS heroes, the ones I want, all the Hanzos. I've got those. So then I got Torbs, and I was like, eh. And then I had some other random, and the rest of the shit was stuff I already had. So I paid $5 for one legendary skin,
dude. Okay,
and everything else was coins. I was like, oh, this is bullshit.
I'm going to take the show even further off the rails. So I have figured out a strategy with my loot boxes now, right?
Oh.
You and I both face the same problem of we played this game way too fucking much.
Mm-hmm.
So we have loot boxes that just stack up. So now what I'm going to do is whenever we have a new event, and if there's a skin that I want, I'll just open loot boxes until I get enough credit to buy the skin that I want.
There you go. That's what I do. I try to remember to do at the end of the event. If I haven't gotten enough and I don't have enough credits, if I haven't got the skin yet, I'm like, okay, open loot boxes. Look, to put on record, I think I'm at 452 loot boxes now.
Nice. I opened all of mine during the last event, so I'm back at 12, I think, currently.
There you go. Don't get like me, because if you get to a certain point where it's just too high, like they need an open all button, or like an open 10 at a time. Open 10 and then show them as rows across the screen, and then I'll click on the legendary ones or whatever. Because there's no way I'm gonna sit on my computer and open over 400 loot boxes. You know how long that's gonna fucking take?
That would just be like mash A. Like I would plug in a fucking controller just so I could sit back and just let me click this, go through the fucking animation. Let me click this, go through the animation again. Go through the animation. Ooh, legendary. Oh, I already have it. Go through the animation.
I'd probably be hearing the Overwatch loot box music in my sleep. Like.
That would take so long. You should record it. I think you should record that. That will make fun content. How long would it take you to open 500 loot boxes?
Oh my god. Maybe so. Maybe it'd be worth it. And then I'll have to look at that number, because at first it was kind of a meme for myself. Yes, I do make me. I was like, let's see how high I get this number. I'm not gonna open it because I didn't care. I had all the skins I wanted for the characters I wanted. Let's leave it over. And now I don't want to open them because it's gonna take me so fucking long. But yeah, we'll see. Coming soon, maybe, guys. So
yeah,
there you go.
Know. With that being said, to finish off our playoff discussion, the Philly went against the Washington Justice at the end, and Philly won 3-0 as expected because, well, they're the Philadelphia Fusion. And by this time, the Justice have been playing the same strategy all throughout playoffs. So, Philly did their homework. End of story.
They did. And I think they're overall Philly's just a better team.
Yep.
I think they deserve to win. There was no like, oh my god, the Justice got shafted or their comp was just so good. I think at one point they made was it I forgot who, Tuba switched to Hanzo, and it was the first time they had ever shaken up their comp. It was always Roadhog, Zarya.
Johnny switched to Diva, and then Decay switched off of Zarya to Roadhog. And then it's like Decay clearly wasn't practicing Roadhog, so like, because Johnny's hog was good, Decay's hog was not.
Exactly. So when you saw that happen, it's like game over.
Yep.
They can't run the comp. So, but you say that you said closing off the playoff discussion, but the Asia region.
I don't know about APAC. We can go over APAC real quick.
You know how much I love my Korean contenders. The players are so good. I'm Gen G. I'm so ready. Come on, someone. It's how do I put this in a sentence? There's a guy. The person's a tank named someone in Korean contenders who's really good.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, actually, like, and then it says like someone killed you, and it's like nice.
Yeah, exactly. But
let's go over the APAC region.
Exactly.
So you're my fan. I'll have you go over these games.
Absolutely. So round 3. To start with, Shanghai beating New York 3-1. No surprise there in the first match to start the third round. I think people expected that. And actually, I had this before we go into it. I had New York and Shanghai coming out this side of the bracket. But New York loses immediately to Shanghai in the first round of round 3. I guess that's how that works. So
see, that's why I'm like, why would you call it round 3 when there's still more rounds in the
in the round? There's rounds inside of rounds. It's Overwatchception. So, and then the next game was Seoul versus Guangzhou. No surprise. I think Guangzhou was overrated all season, to be honest, and Seoul 3-0s them. So now we get to an interesting game between Shanghai and Seoul. This game was very, very good. Profit. I'm calling him Playoff P, not the one from Real Sports. I don't know if any people watch actual basketball or NBA basketball. There's a guy named Playoff P, not him. Playoff Profit. Yep. Profit is popping off. He's playing the Farah, and it's amazing.
If I can cut in too, I actually caught this game because I work a super early shift. I was able to wake up and then I turned on my YouTube and I'm like, oh shit, Owl's on. And it was game 5 of the Shanghai Seoul game, and I'm like, damn, this is some good Overwatch, dude.
Yes, yes. Seoul looks like an entirely new team. And I'm a fanboy a little bit here, guys, because after the Outlaws, Texas Watch, I bleed green. If I need a transplant, it's going to be black and gold.
You have expressed that Seoul is your second team on this show before. Don't worry.
Yes.
This ain't new news. It's okay. I'm excited for you, dude. Like, you can see the whole bracket. New York and Guangzhou went 3-0. Seoul 3-0 New York, which was big oof because
that was the big one. I expected New York to just like. I mean, I picked New York to win this game. And Seoul 3-0'd them? The Jay Jonak, Savioli? These are legends. These are legends in the game. And they didn't win a map.
Which, fun fact, this is actually the 3rd season in a row that New York has finished 3rd place.
Wow. So what do you... If you're on the New York Excelsior, if you're Jay Jonak, you're an MVP, obviously one of the best flex supports in the world who's ever played this game.
Do you follow him on Instagram?
What do you do? I do not follow him on Instagram.
He was clearly distraught by this loss. And it was like, fuck, dude. Like, you feel for them. Like, New York always gets so close. And then...
It's at this point, players aren't the problem, in my opinion. It's coaching. There's a mental block here for the New York Excelsior. They have the talent. There's no denying that. There's a mental block that they can't get past for 3 years. Like, if I'm like Jonak, I'm like, okay, I'm flexing my MVP muscle here. We either need a new coach or I'm changing teams or something. Because what do you do?
Well, like, if I recall correctly, for the 2nd season of Overwatch League, Wizard Hyung, who was the head coach of New York, got signed to head coach Toronto.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
And then they had a new coach for season 2. I can't remember his name. Is that still the same coach for them?
I believe so, because I'm sure if the NYXL coach got fired, it'd be. I follow enough Twitter people in Overwatch that would be pretty big news.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anything like that. New York just doesn't adapt very well. They're so slow to adapt to metas and adapt mid match. They're very good at one style, the best in the world at one style. But when it comes to shifting, especially with the new playoff meta, they just aren't good. The only team they beat Guangzhou and Chengdu in the playoffs. Two of the worst teams in the Asia region. I would argue the two worst teams. Chengdu I love, but they're just not going to do it. So it took them, Chengdu, Hangzhou, and Guangzhou are the three worst teams in Asia. They barely beat Chengdu 3-2, and then they lose to Shanghai and then beat Guangzhou. Their wins aren't impressive at all, and they're barely winning. And when they came up against a team like the Seoul Dynasty, who were legit and ready to go, they got rolled.
Let me piggyback off of that to start a new question for you.
Yeah.
If the pandemic didn't happen, Overwatch League Season 3 is exactly what we wanted. We're all going to home stands. Everybody's watching games live. They're selling out arenas. How do you think New York would have fared? They already had one homestand where they won both games, if I recall correctly. So what do you think it would have looked like?
I think homestands do make a difference. It depends where these matches are played, right? Because I don't know in the playoffs how these would have worked out. Does the number one where are the matches? Are they played in one Blizzard arena for this whole tournament, or
are you talking about like playoffs, or are we talking about future?
Talk about playoffs.
So my theory would be they would have all the playoffs in one spot.
Okay, in that case, no. I think they would have still made the playoffs. Obviously, I think New York is still one of the best teams in the league. Still would have been about the same seeding. In Asia, there were 3, so I think with Asia and NA, they're still. I said they're top 6, whatever.
I would agree with that.
And so I still think they have a good playoff seeding, but I still think if the meta is the way it is and things being neutral, which is the way things are now, they lose. They lose the same way. The homestands would have helped them maybe get a higher seed in the regular season, but after I saw that match with Seoul in New York just looked lost, man. Like it was Nene and Sabioli. Like I hate to use the term because it's one of the worst things you can hear as a gamer. They look washed, man. They look like me, man. I got a 3 in my age, so they're looking like that.
Oof. Well, I mean, there is proof that like esports is a young man's game. And while there are a few players in OWL who are like in their mid-20s, there comes a time where they just say peace, you know?
Yeah. And I don't want to, because they're still high-quality players, but their adaptability is off. They're rigid. They're not fluid a lot. Like, the Valiant are a great example of the opposite. The Valiant can flex to almost anything with KSP, KSF, McGravy, Dreamer. Dreamer was arguably the best Winston in the playoffs, and before the playoffs, Winston wasn't really meta, like before Shield nerf, and they were still a top 5 team. So that fluidity is just not there with New York, in my opinion. So, and that's what cost them. I'm not a big NYXL fan, so I feel kind of sorry, but not really. I just like Jonak. I mean, I have a skin. The Zen skin is great.
Of course.
But I was happy to see Seoul Dynasty pull through out of the losers bracket. 3-0 New York, and Shanghai and Seoul will be going to the grand finals to face off against the Fusion and the Shock, which is going to be a hell of a grand finals. I'm excited for that.
Let's just transition straight into that because I really do want to talk about this. So for the grand finals, we have the second seed in Asia playing against the first seed in North America, and vice versa, where you have the second seed in North America playing against the first seed in Asia. So the games that we have are Seoul versus the Shock and Philly versus the Dragons, which, I mean, I wholeheartedly anticipate this to go NA 1, Asia 1 wins, and then losers bracket is just NA 2, Asia 2, and
I think you're right. I thought about this for a while as I was watching this bracket when it was created. I was like, can Seoul beat the Shock? And then I thought, like, man, Seoul's got Ons. And if you're going to run Pharah into Ons' Widow...
Shock has the Ons.
I mean, Shock has Ons. Excuse me. You're right. Shock has Ons. and Seoul has Prophet on Pharah. I am not running Pharah into Anza's Widow. So you're going to have to do something else.
Here's a question that I have. Like, I really like the potential of these games because of the fact that these teams have not played against each other all year. Like, we are going to have either a wash, maybe a competitive game. Like, I think that Seoul and Shanghai have a bit of a leg up because they have been playing the same six teams. Oh, I was right.
I don't know.
Teams.
I see it as a disadvantage because you've seen less looks.
Let me finish.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me finish. I do agree with you that it is a bit of a disadvantage because in Asia, we had Seoul, Shanghai, New York, and occasionally Guangzhou as the top teams. I don't know why I put quotes there. Occasionally the top teams.
Top teams.
And then you had London and Chengdu, where London was just a team of youngsters who they figured out the game throughout the season, but GG go next. And right. Chengdu is just Chengdu. If you know anything about them, you know nothing about them.
If you think you know something, you're wrong.
Correct. So no one expects them to go far, but it's fun to watch them. So bringing this back, like NA has had more competitive, like the top 6, I would say were definitely competitive, but once you got to like 7, 8, like once you got to Toronto, Dallas, sorry boys, you knew where it was gonna go, right?
Where the cutoff was, right? Exactly.
So I think that it's a little even because it's like top 6 versus top 4. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just really anticipating us seeing 2 different kinds of Overwatch for this grand finals. Because I've noticed that all Korean teams tend to play with a bit more precision than mixed rosters, but mixed rosters tend to be a bit more creative and try different things that end up working. So I'm really curious to see how this works, especially because Shock and Philly are both mixed roster teams. Whereas Shanghai and Seoul are both full Korean.
What if tinfoil hat insider information when he's on like stream and Twitch and he's on a Korean server? He does a little inside information about what the meta is in Korea. He goes back and says, "Hey, Shock fellas, I know what Seoul's gonna run because on ladder this is all they're running in Korea." I don't know. Maybe not happen. Maybe it's a difference between ladder and competitive. I'm sure there is, but Shock it could be close.
They have enough analysts to where I guarantee they do that. Now, here's my question, though. Like, what do we expect from these 2 games? If I had to say how I anticipate the first round going, NA 1, Asia 1's going to win. There's not going to be any upsets. The Philly will play Shanghai very well, but Shanghai has proven as a dominant team all season. Yeah. Whereas Philly has 2, but I feel like Shanghai's dominance has been a bit stronger. And then Seoul versus the Shock. I think the Shock are still going to win just because they're going to take these games seriously. They're going to want to go far. And then we get to the losers bracket where Seoul versus Philly. I don't know who wins that game. Like, hasn't Seoul been... Like, they went 50-50 with their record this year, right? Pretty much won the same amount of games that they lost. Whereas Shock won almost all of their games, and I think they have 3 or 4 losses throughout the season.
I would have to... that's in the winner's side. Shock versus Dragons. My first round is different, by the way, but we'll do this one first. That's tough. Shock versus Dragons. I would probably lean Shock because I've seen Shock just be more... Adaptability in this game is so huge. Once you figure out the other team's strategy, how quickly you can shift your mindset and comp to beat that strategy, which is what makes Overwatch such an amazing game because you constantly have that back and forth.
Which, if I can make a quick commentary, that doesn't happen in Silver.
Oh, I'm sorry.
People don't ever switch until it's 30 seconds remaining, and I'm like, fuck. Now you guys want to switch. Great.
I'm in plat. I'm only at like the 3rd layer of hell. Like you're probably like the 6th.
Oh my god. And like, I don't want to blame my teammates, but like I tried playing comp 2 days straight, at the worst time, like 5, 6 p.m. I didn't think it would be that bad.
Oh no, the people that get off work, I'm just gonna play comp, huh? And they're already mad from work, and they just bring it in Overwatch. Oh no.
I've taught myself, if I lose 2 games straight, don't play comp. Just get off and try to do something else, because it will only go worse. And I've lost 4 games straight, so I'll bring it back, but I'm not playing at 5, 6 p.m. anymore.
If I do make a recommendation, I don't know if you're on an off day or whatever. Day players are great.
Yeah. Oh,
and
for sure.
When I play between like 10, 11 a.m. and like 3 p.m. Oh, they're amazing. Like everyone's like nice. You lose like GG's. Like you have a widow. No one flames the widow for not really doing anything. Like the widow switches on their own. You're like, what's going on? There's like positive people in the game. So I will recommend that if I do pick a time. But
bringing us back to the grand finals bracket. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would pick the Shock in your bracket, with Shanghai then dropping to play Fusion. I think Fusion beats Seoul in
the losers bracket,
the first round.
I think so too. Philly has come way too far this season, and the fact that they've consistently gotten second. No, I think they won one of the tournaments, so no, they didn't.
No, they lost. That was an EQO blade. Well, he bladed with 10 seconds left. It didn't have blade for the last fight, and they lost.
So, and Philly, like, you think New York feels bad? Philly has been in second place for so long now.
For a long time.
And they were NA1 until the playoffs, where the Shock beat them when it counted. So right. I'm sure they are very ready to dominate. Well, then let's look at this second round then. So I'm with you on Philly beating Seoul. Wait.
So then it's So Philly beats Seoul, and now it's Philly versus Shanghai in the losers bracket.
Wait. Again, I thought you said that Shanghai won the first round. Or you said Philly's going to beat Shanghai in the first round.
No, I said Shanghai and Shock go to the second round as winners.
Yes.
But then Shock beats Shanghai. So Shanghai drops down.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know if I'd agree with that. Do
you think the Dragons beat the Shock in round 2 of winners?
I mean, Fleta got MVP for a reason. Like,
it's true.
His flexibility is unmatched. He is one of 3 players, I think, that can play a good Echo. I've seen Rascal play Echo. I have seen Fleta play Echo. And I want to say, not BQB, who's the other support on Florida?
The Yaki?
Yaki.
It's BQB and Yaki.
Yeah, okay. I've seen Yaki play Echo, and that's it. I think that Echo is an amazing character. She's really well designed and a great assassin. And in the right
She's
hands,
high skill cap.
Very much so.
And, I play Echo, and I run into the team like, I can't fly yet. I'm fucked. Sitting shooting my laser beams, whatever she does, that.
And she's hard to play, but if you figure her out, huge potential.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think Shock have a good Echo. Well, I did say Rascal, but he's practically on the bench all the time. Like,
until they need him. He's like the secret weapon Swiss Army knife. Like, we need to win. Bring in Rascal.
Yep. So maybe they bring in Rascal.
Dragons overshot? Do you think Dragons overshot?
Yes.
In the winner, I guess that's the semifinals. That's the winners finals. Yeah, in the winners finals to go to the grand finals, grand finals, I guess, because it's all the grand finals, but now, the final match is the grand final.
For the record, I do think that we're gonna see Shock Dragons in the finals. I want to see Philly in the finals. I actually do. They deserve a win, and they worked really hard this year. They played really well this year. They did not back down. They did not show anyone any real weakness, except for San Francisco. But I've liked a lot of what I've seen of Philly this year, but the Shock are one of those teams where they either don't give a shit about you and beat you with the flick of the wrist, or they turn on the on switch and then you don't have a chance. So I'm curious to see how they perform in the playoffs. For the record, I do think that we're going to have Shanghai win the whole thing.
So your prediction is the Shanghai Dragons win the title.
That's my prediction. Also, I think that it would benefit because this is going to be in Asia. That means you're going to have a home field advantage, which, as we have learned through all the.
Well, there won't be crowds though. As far as are there crowds?
I think there. Oh, actually, I don't know.
think they're doing that. I don't think Korea's doing crowds. As far as I know, they're not doing concerts for sure.
Yeah,
there's been no K-pop concerts recently.
Maybe they'll do some kind of like limited
a virtual
seating
thing.
but yeah, I can see South Korea definitely doing that.
Yeah, they have some giant video board.
For the record, I am very excited for the grand finals because actually seeing the players in a live environment is huge.
I just hope they do something, maybe crowd noise, because how awkward would it be to be in a huge arena and there's 12 of you and all you hear is just clicking of keyboards and mouses?
I mean, let's be honest, that's every esports event right now.
Oh, yeah, but you don't want to notice that as a viewer, right? You want to give me the illusion. This is all for my entertainment. We make this show for your entertainment, listeners and viewers, and we talk about it because we're entertained by it. I have a lot of fun watching this. Now, I think it's time for me to give you my bracket prediction because mine is not the same as yours.
Let's go. I'm curious.
So I have Shock winning. Shock beat the Dynasty. I agree. But the Fusion beat the Dragons in round 1.
Okay. I like your twist. So we have NA domination in the winners bracket?
Yes, we have NA domination in the winners bracket. I think NA is actually further along in the meta than Asia is. I think the fact that we've had to play more teams and see more looks is going to benefit NA going into this. Granted, it's a long layoff, so I think Asia is going to catch up, and they're still great players. It'll be close, but I think NA wins out of the top bracket, and the losers bracket is Shanghai and Dynasty.
Okay. And how do you think that game goes?
Hate to say it, my Tigers, my second team. I'm always Outlaws, but Shanghai wins. Seoul gets eliminated. And then in a Shock Fusion matchup, I think Shock wins again. Yeah. In a 3-2 fashion. So Shock go to the final game, final boss. And then it is Fusion versus Dragons in the second round against us, a rematch. Fusion win again.
Okay.
Fusion beat the Dragons twice. They figured them out. They know what they like to do.
So what you're telling me is we get a grand finals of orange and orange?
All in a final. Fusion, Shock, and the Philadelphia Fusion finally get their title.
Okay. I do like that outcome a lot. Again, I've said I want Philly to win. This is my prediction is just what I think. But
of course, that's what a prediction is.
Yeah. We've just had so many upsets this year. I can see that happening.
That's kind of my thing, right? Because whenever I pick Chalk, like this team should win, the Justice just 3-0'd them. I'm like, well, okay, well they're not gonna let the Justice just roll through them. So I think NA is better equipped, and I think the NA teams are just better than Korean teams as things stand right now. This could change obviously because there's a lot of layoff time. So I mean, 3 weeks to learn one team, that's a lot of time. And these are all great coaches. At this point, we're at a point where all these staffs are amazing. So yes. There's not going to be huge advantages either way when it comes to that. So it's coming out to the players. And I think Fled has played great. Obviously, he's the MVP. But I think between Hisu, Ivy, and Carpe, they can match him. I think the tank lines are just damn near even. Like, they're all great players at this point. It's hard to say who's the better DPS and who's the better tank line, who's the better support line. They'll have amazing of each role. So, I think it's going to be an all NA final. I think the Fusion bring it home, and Carpe can finally say he has a ring. Pow, show it to everybody. I have no ring because I'm not a champion. So.
And did you watch the COD finals at all?
Yeah, the Dallas Empire and FaZe.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was. I watched the first 3 maps and then I turned it off because the fucking.
You know how it was gonna go.
Roll. I was like, one, I don't really follow Call of Duty, so I wasn't super interested. But I was like, it's a final. Like, of course I'll watch it, check it out. And Dallas rolled them the first 3 maps, and I was like, well, this isn't fun. So I went and watched like some funny video.
Yeah, you missed the one match that FaZe won, and then it was like, oh, okay, and then Dallas won the next one, which is what they needed. So congratulations.
I could tell it was just so I don't want to get on Call of Duty, but it was like very obvious one team was better. One team was trying to kill people, the other team was trying to win. Dallas was trying to win. They literally would let themselves die to be better positioned for the next point. And I'm like, that's big brain strats. And
Yep.
FaZe was just like, oh, we don't know what to do.
We're gonna go
So
fast
it was a
and
trick.
get kills, and that's how players usually think in Call of Duty, to be honest. But this isn't a Call of Duty podcast. This is an Overwatch podcast.
Right.
I like your bracket. It definitely stirs things up, and it's a narrative that people don't expect. Because I feel like my bracket is kind of literally what we expect, right? We know what
The
teams
number
are
ones.
good, and right.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love a shake-up. It's so entertaining whenever, like, again, the Justice, great example. Whenever a team that is the dark horse that you don't expect to win dominates, you're like, yeah, let's see how far you guys go.
Exactly, and I'm a big fan of rematches too. Some people don't like it. Seeing them play again, I would love to see, because Philly, I had in my bracket the Fusion and Dragons play round one, and they meet again in the losers finals to see who goes to play the Shock. Like at that point, these teams know each other.
Yep.
You're gonna get great Overwatch. I know where you're hiding. I'm Fleta on Sombra. Like I know where you are, Carpe on Widow. Like it's a lot better Overwatch when you remove those layers from it, and now the players have to make plays. I love that kind of Overwatch when teams are that evenly matched. So hopefully, I want to see a rematch between some of these teams.
And we'll probably see it. Who knows, though? We have literally 3 weeks until we get to the grand finals.
What am I supposed to do? I guess I'll just play Overwatch.
I mean, let's actually talk about playing Overwatch. Earlier this week, we got a new skin challenge, and it's one of the coolest ones we've ever got. Can I pull up the Tracer skin? Actually, do you want to talk about the Tracer skin, or do you want to talk about the All-Star skins?
We can start with the Tracer skin and then move into the All-Star.
Tracers. What's the challenge called again?
The comic challenge. Tracer's comic challenge, I believe.
Like, get this pulled up. So, first off, it's actually really freaking cool. Like, it's brought along with a comic. With a web comic that's, well, it's not web, it's a real comic, and it's really freaking good.
It's drawn very well.
It's written excellently. I don't want to say I was surprised by it, because it makes it seem like I'm a comic snob and everything, but it's a great comic. There was so much emotion conveyed. It actually felt like you got to know Tracer a little bit better. You got to see her relationship with her girlfriend, how she feels in King's Row. And if I recall correctly, the what is it? In the comic, this is before Overwatch was recalled, right? Where Tracer is
correct.
Overwatch has died, and then Tracer is just trying to live her life.
If you read the next issue snippet, it is before Overwatch is recalled, and it's before oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. The Omnic gets shot by Widow. Mondada. It's before Mondada dies and before Overwatch is brought back together. If you don't know that by now, please go watch the trailers for what. First of all, if you haven't seen that Widowmaker Tracer,
I was about to say,
video,
if you haven't seen all
that
of
the best. Oh my god, they're so good. I love the videos.
There has not been a animated short that has made me feel like these. They're like so well written, so well animated. You owe it to yourself to watch these animated shorts. And you might say, like, why do I care? A, you get lore. B, again, they're incredibly animated.
It's a good 5 minutes. Like, Demi told this whole story in 5 minutes. And if you've played Overwatch even once, you feel like you understand the character more. And when the Tracer Widow battle, and why Widow does what she does, and why Tracer feels terrible about that, and this whole comic is before all that happens. And hopefully, my wishful thinking is that it builds up all the way to that point. I would love for the comics that they're going to do this series to get to the point where she gets the intel that there may be a hit on Mondada, and that's why she goes, and then that's when the short starts. I love when they bridge those gaps. I love when they bridge those gaps. We have,
what is it, 4 other comics that we get to go through, and like, this was a lengthy comic. It wasn't like one of those, oh, well, I have 3 page. No, like it was a good 12, 15 pages.
Yes, it was.
It's got a lot in there. It's great to read. I highly recommend it. But I have one more skin, or rather, 2 more skins that I want to talk about. And those are the All-Star skins. So, every year for All-Stars, they release 2 skins. The first year of Overwatch League... Oh, I gotta actually start it right. First year of Overwatch League, we had Tracer and Genji, right?
Yes.
Second year, and that whole thing was supposed to be like Fire Water. And then the theme for year 2, and it was on
Lucio Mercy.
Yeah, Lucio Mercy. Lucio was Sun, Mercy was Moon. And then now we get like Heaven and Earth with Celestial Diva and Gaia Reinhardt. And holy shit, these skins look so good.
You can tell they worked on them for a while. You can tell.
Yeah.
They do the All-Star skins right because they're going to make us buy them, right? How much are these skins going to cost?
$10 a piece, $20 for a pack of 2. If you don't have the tokens by now, what the hell? Come on. Come on. Like, if you are just a random Overwatch fan and you don't really pay attention to OWL and you may not have logged in for your tokens, I get that. You know, like that's very fair. But for those of you who make sure that you're logged in for your tokens, like Overwatch League.
Go ahead. That's 200. Is that 300? How many tokens is that for both? 400 tokens?
400 for both.
200. Okay, yeah, I got that. Okay, never mind. I'll be getting those very quickly.
Oh, same. I have almost 500 tokens saved. And, like, I didn't really buy any Overwatch League skins this season. I think I bought the Fuel Echo skin because I was like, yeah, I'm going to get good at Echo. And it didn't happen.
My new main. I got this. And then, this is hard.
Yeah.
I'm still losing.
So I haven't really bought an OWL skin in a while. And like previously, I used to only buy OWL skins for Dallas Fuel, Houston Outlaws for thumbnails and promotion stuff. And then maybe, because I bought a couple of Shock skins. Like, I love Moth's Lucio. So I bought the Lucio Shock skin. Unfortunately, it was last year, so it's the orange one and not the black one. But
they switched that up real quick.
Yeah.
Now you know how fans of football and basketball teams feel when they change their jersey style. You're like, well, what the fuck? Mine's an old jersey now.
Yep.
I have to buy a new one.
Yep, and you're like, do I want to wear this? Like, I saw someone who had the Florida Mayhem Widow skin, because if you remember, you get that in the All Access Pass from Season 1.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Why are you wearing this?
You should change out of this skin, to be honest.
Like, the Florida Mayhem's original colors were that yellow and red. It didn't look good. Their new colors are on point.
Oh, the Miami Vice Mayhem. I love it.
But
so good.
The old Mayhem, let's just not talk about it. Point is, I'm really excited for these skins. I look forward to buying them immediately because I will. I've already saved up the tokens.
Can we talk about, I want to even put more emphasis on your favorite heroes. I think it's the Celestial Diva.
Dude, I mean, am I allowed to talk about Diva for a second? Because
it's like,
this skin is amazing.
Her hair is white. Dude, I was like, what? It's fucking cool.
Did you watch the lore video about the skins too, or did you just watch the main trailer?
I just watched the main trailer. I don't think I watched the lore videos of I guess why they picked it is what they talked about.
Not necessarily why they picked it, but like their design choices and how it got there. And one of the really cool points about it was it's not only Heaven and Earth, it's the Asia version of Heaven. So like they took inspiration from like Chinese, Korean, Japanese mythology. And then for Reinhardt, he's Earth, and then they took like Nordic and Celtic inspiration from like Germany and Europe, and I think that is super cool. Like, not only are you taking the character's nationality in mind, but you're designing the skin with those elements, and you can bet your ass I am rocking that Diva skin for a while.
Yeah, first of all, when I play with my group of friends, I'll never play Diva because there's just no way. There's too many Diva mains.
There is no way. Same thing with Mercy. It just doesn't happen.
It won't happen. But if I ever do, I will be rocking that skin. It is a really. I saw that skin. I was like, that's probably one of my favorite skins in the game. And I don't play a lot of D.Va. I'm not a D.Va main. But
I don't want to give any slack
skin
to the Reinhardt skin either. Like, it's really well done. It glows. I think that's super cool.
Like, I think the Reinhardt skin is maybe because I haven't looked at it as much. I was just like
the D.Va skin is on point. That's the winner between the two, hands down.
Yeah, I like the light blue and the gold that's on there, and her hair color has changed and stuff. The Ryan skin, it kind of reminds me of. I don't want to not do it justice because I think the Ryan skin is amazing as well. When I first saw it, it reminded me of, I forgot what it's called, the moss skin that Reinhardt has with the leaves on them and stuff.
Like
it reminded
Boulder Heart, no, Grief Heart.
Maybe something like that. It reminded me of that skin, and then I had to watch the trailer a couple times. And I'm like, oh, I see. His hammer kind of glows here, and he's kind of green, but he kind of he has a similar skin to it. Maybe that's what turned me off a bit. But I'll still rock the skin when I buy it because it looks cool and it glows.
Right.
But D.Va's, I think, there's not any other skin she has that looks like that.
Yes,
I could ever say compares to that. Or her out of mech, baby D.Va looks like, whoa, it's a fucking like she was. She was like she belongs in some cyberpunk or something, or in heaven. You can say that.
And
too.
like the white hair really does change the look though. Like D.Va in almost all of her skins has her normal hair, and then it's either in a ponytail or down or in a helmet for a couple of the skins. But this one like just completely changes the color. It's like, oh no, Black Cat, she's blonde. But I don't want to be a D.Va fan here. I mean, I can't control myself.
How do we know these heroes? So we know their skins. Jesus, we play this game too much.
I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, when you love a game, you want to invest into it and learn about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with all that being said, I think it's about time to wrap this up. Because this has been Texas Watch. Normally, your source for Houston Outlaws and Dallas Field coverage. But they're not playing right now, so we get to talk about whatever we want. It's kind of nice. You can catch the show on YouTube. Link in the description below if you are watching us on YouTube. Please subscribe. Maybe give us that like. If you've watched us this far, we appreciate you. Podcast listeners, I hope you enjoyed your drive. Maybe this last hour at work wasn't as unbearable as it usually is because you had some friends to listen to. That's cool. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think about the podcast. And until next time, let's make Texas proud.